Hey, it's Thomas here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Lifegard Aquatic's Intelli-Feed automatic fish feeder. If you're looking for an automatic fish feeder to keep your fish well fed throughout the day or even when you're not home, that doesn't require any batteries and also doesn't need to be plugged into the wall full time, that can accommodate a wide range of foods and has a tank mount that can swivel 360 degrees, then check out Lifegard Aquatic's Intelli-Feed. Super quiet feeder. Feeding our fish is something we often enjoy doing by hand since it's one of the few ways we get to interact with our fish. But if we're going to be away on vacation or plan to keep high energy species that need to feed multiple times throughout the day, an automatic feeder can be really helpful. There are quite a few battery operated feeders out there that can get the job done, and I've used a handful of them, but Lifegard's Intelli-Feed has a few great features that make it a more user-friendly option, like a hopper with a feeding hatch so you can refill it with food without having to remove it, a swivel tank mount for easier positioning and dispensing of the food where you want to over top of your tank, and a USB rechargeable lithium-ion battery. That's right, no more worrying about AA batteries and buying new ones and swapping them out and ending up with a pile you have to recycle at the end of the year. You can just plug it into a USB port or charger like you would with your phone and it charges, which is awesome. In the box, you'll find the Intelli-Feeder with the swivel mount pre-installed, the charging cable, and the double-sided tape mount. So before we get to setting up and programming the Intelli-Feed, let's go over some of the features that make it stand out from the pack. First and foremost, the Intelli-Feed has a built-in lithium-ion battery that can be charged with the included USB cable, meaning you don't have to worry about replacing those AA batteries that you would find in most automatic feeders. The Intelli-Feed is shipped partially charged, and you'll want to charge it for a few hours when you first get it out of the box. The battery life is shown right on the digital display, so you can get an easy read on when you'll be expecting to charge it again, and when the battery's getting low, it'll actually flash to let you know it's time to give it a charge. The mounting clamp on the Intelli-Feed can accommodate trimless panels up to 1 inch wide and is one of the widest mounting clamps that I've seen, which should provide more stability. What makes this particular mounting clamp unique though is that it allows the feeder to swivel 360 degrees, which is going to add more flexibility with placement than other feeders. For example, if you need to feed as close to the corner of the tank as possible or just as close to the glass as possible to accommodate a feeding ring, it can certainly do that. You can also remove the clamp if you want to place the feeder on a flat surface, and Lifegard includes an adhesive silicone pad to make sure it stays put. The hopper on the Intelli-Feed is also more convenient than most, with a hatch directly on the top of the feeder for refilling, as well as the traditional rear loading. So if you want to quickly top up the feeder, you don't have to remove the hopper, close the feeding door, and then open it up. You can leave the feeding door at your preferred setting, slide the hatch open, toss in some more food, close the hatch, and you're good to go. The Intelli-Feed also has a power button to turn the feeder on and off, which isn't something that most digital feeders have, and I really wish they did. For example, if you only use your digital feeder while you're away for the weekend or on vacation, or want to be able to turn it off temporarily, the power button will turn the feeder off without you having to remove the batteries and lose your settings. So instead of having to temporarily reprogram the feeder to have no rotations per feeding, or remove the hopper but letting the feeder run without food and wasting battery life, you can just turn it off, leave it where it is, and turn it back on when you need it to take over feeding again. It's a really simple feature, but it's great because nobody wants to have to reprogram their feeder every time they're going to go away for the weekend or just waste batteries because they don't want to have to reprogram their feeder every time they go away for the weekend. Programming the Intelli-Feed is simple and very similar to other digital feeders that I've used. It allows for up to 4 feedings per day with up to 3 hopper rotations per feeding, which is plenty of food dispensing power for most aquariums. Then you can fill up the hopper with your choice of dry food. Granules, pellets, sticks, crushed flakes, and smaller and consistently sized freeze-dried foods are all good options. Once it's filled up, adjust the feeding door starting with the smallest setting, and over top of a table or plate, press the manual button for a one-time feeding to make sure it's dispensing the right amount of food. You can continue to open the hatch a little at a time until it dispenses the exact amount of food you'd like to feed your tank. The right amount of food for your tank is going to depend on a few factors like what kind of fish you're feeding, how many fish you have, what kind of food you're deciding to feed, if you're also feeding by hand at other points during the day. The last thing you want to do is set up your feeder wrong and have it overfeed your tank. you can check out this video right here. It's gonna go over all of the top feeding mistakes, including the one I just mentioned. Ryan and Randy break it all down. There's 21 of them, which is a lot of mistakes, and people make a lot of them often. I know I made a bunch of them over the years, so have a watch, save yourself from, you know, algae outbreaks, just extra maintenance you don't wanna have to do because you're overfeeding, other issues. Have a watch.